I'm starting. I'm starting. So this is our second week of channelings recap. What what came through on the separate days, various different streams of consciousness with messages for us and messages for the collective. Yeah, so the first one was about a week ago, and it was a message about grace and a crystalline frequency brought in to activate higher chakras and to a message to communicate and be with grace. Is that right? Would you say?
Yeah, to live life from a place of grace, meaning, I guess, dropping into the heart center, choosing to respond rather than react, being present, finding a bit of spaciousness around the day to day, just giving a bit of a buffer instead of just knee jerking with everything. I mean, that's the simplest way of explaining it.
Yeah, and it was focus on the beauty, focus upon structure, the divine, and live from a place of forgiveness.
Yes, forgiveness came in quite a lot this week, didn't it? It came in again
Yeah.
with the meditation. And the point being, forgiveness isn't about condoning what people do. I think people get caught, and I can't forgive them because then it lets them off the hook. Well, it doesn't matter about them really, because the only people suffering when we don't forgive is ourselves, because we're carrying it. They don't care whether we forgive them or not. So we're not condoning people's actions. We're just freeing ourselves from the ties that bind us to past events.
And the other message that kept repeating throughout this week was frequency and resonance. And by you harboring this frequency of not forgiving, the main person it affects, well, almost the only person it affects is you. And you're harboring those lower vibrational frequencies, and that ultimately affects you moving up and connecting with the higher frequencies.
Yeah, and I think there was a lot of talk about how to bring your spirit in, the body needs to be of a higher frequency, so it stops you from being able to develop spiritually, because if you're holding something denser in the body, it's going to limit your ability to raise your frequency, and it's going to affect your thoughts, and it's going to therefore affect how you present each day. If you're keeping your thoughts stuck in the past in a lower frequency, then you're not moving forward. So sounds overly simplistic, but it is simple.
Yeah, it was nice. It was a nice message to start the week off, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So if anger arises, choose grace. If frustration arises, choose grace. Or any other lower vibrational feelings, choose grace.
And that's a practice. It doesn't come naturally. We're going against the neurological pathways which are primed to recreate what we've already if you think what you've always thought, you recreate what you've always had, and this is a ways of interrupting that. But it takes effort and being
Right.
conscious.
Yeah, yeah, I remember that. Yeah, it doesn't happen overnight. It's about starting with the intent. Was that right? And then it sort of comes naturally the more you choose to decide it. Was that right?
Yeah, the more you practice it, the more natural it becomes. We've got to fake it till you make it, and it can feel really uncomfortable if you're genuinely annoyed and you have somebody in particular that triggers you. It's hard not to fall into that pattern of being triggered and annoyed. So it's a practice. You have to choose. What do you want more? Do you want to raise your frequency, or do you want to get stuck in these addictive thought loops?
Mm.
It's a choice.
Yeah, it was a good one to start the week, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the next day we had Lou. Is that right? Yeah, Lou, and it was a transmission focused on the importance of unity of body, mind, and spirit.
Yeah.
Is that
So
right?
Lou of the Tour de Danann fame.
Yeah, tell us about Lou. What did you see,
I
and what do you understand of Lou?
I don't look too much at the traditional writings about him. What I see when I connect with him is a light being. He looks like a knight, not dressed in traditional knight, but he's shining so brightly. It looks like he's in armor of light, and he has a sword. So he looks not unlike you would imagine Archangel Michael, but he's coming from this different tradition, and he is. There's a righteousness to him, but a righteousness within ourselves, to be righteous, to be have integrity, to do what's right for us, and but in a way that is from a place of integrity, so that we're doing right by ourselves. We do right by others by doing right by ourselves first. So if we're harbouring those thoughts of resentment, we're not doing right by ourselves. If we're harbouring unforgiveness, we're not doing right by ourselves. It's about making sure we have that integrity first, and that helps us then in all interactions.
Mm. And again, talked about frequency and harmony and balance. Was that right in that
Yes.
yeah, yeah.
And not to run your life by fear, which is another disharmonious energy which can throw everything off, and not allowing fear to control you, having the driving principle being a higher ability to transcend things that come in to try and trigger fear. Fear is a lower vibration, it's where we get hooked. Finding the stillness to transcend fear is also a key point.
Right. And by harboring those feelings of fear, that attracts lower vibrational entities or energies, yeah, for want of a better expression. Is that
Yeah,
right?
yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
And we can, if we're in a lower vibrational state, then and we're allowing lower vibrational thoughts, then lower vibrational thought forms can come in.
yeah,
We have to monitor the quality of our thoughts so that we don't allow lower vibrational energies to come in and influence us, be they thought forms or matrix of control or mechanisms. We have to kind of work to keep our frequency higher so that we are having positive thoughts that emanate from an intention of unconditional love rather than an intention of fear.
yeah. So what would be a typical daily example of fear then? Would you say, like, what could it, yeah,
Any decision we make could be made out of love and trust or fear. Like, I don't want to go to London today in case I get caught in a car crash. Okay, or I don't want to go
yeah,
to London today because I don't think it's the right thing for me. Right, we can make decisions based on nuance, but if we allow fear to be the driving factor, like, oh, I've got to keep at my job because if I don't, I'm going to make this decision out of fear of lack. I've got to stay
right,
in this
yeah,
relationship because I'm frightened that I'll have nothing if I don't stay. So that's a decision made from fear rather than I'm staying because it's the right thing for me to do at the moment, or I'm going to enjoy my job while I'm here until something changes.
yeah, okay,
It's very
yeah,
different energy of kind of how we can run ourselves day to day.
yeah, right. And that reality that we construct ourselves, either it's a place of fear, and become conscious of that, or um, construct a place of higher vibrational frequencies. And specifically, that he used was the word of God, the name of God, the frequency of God, and your vibration will naturally rise.
Oh yeah. I've forgotten about that. Yeah. So I remember somebody telling me that in any dynamic, if there's two people, there's always three. It's either, let's say, God and the other person, or it's the devil and the other person. So there's three aspects to any communication. Like,
Oh,
is there a communication that's based on higher principles, or is there a connection and communication based on lower principles? So I
mm,
think that's quite a nice way. Where are you connecting with this person? How are you
mm,
expressing yourself? What are you drawing in?
mm. Yeah, nice. So the expression they used, or the example, was if you're swimming in sharks. Swimming in waters where sharks are present, if you become fearful, they detect your fear and drawn towards it. Likewise, if your awareness rests upon God, your vibration rises. I thought that was a good example from them.
Yeah, that is good. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I've forgotten that.
nice.
It's fun. It's so funny how I can't remember it.
I, I've done a lot of research for this call,
Yeah, good job you read it through.
and so it, okay. So that was a good second day. Was there anything else in that one?
No, I just think it was that the main message for me that stood out was is to transcend fear. Don't let fear be your driving principle for the decisions that you make.
Right. Yeah, nice. So the following day was the harmonics of awakening with Ashtar. You've been channeling Ashtar for probably about a year now.
Yeah, yeah,
Is
yeah.
that right?
Yes, that's
Yeah.
right. Since we were in Rennes le Chateau, yeah.
Yeah. And it came to you, and they are. How would you explain Ashtar for?
Well, when I first he first came through that time, I felt like his voice was very metallic. So he immediately felt different to the other guides that I've been working with. And now when I feel him arrive, I just see like I get the impression of the inside of a craft. And there's a there's a table, there's a board table, there's usually a collective, the synod that they said last week, synod, around this table, and he's kind of speaking for them. But then sometimes he'll be speaking from himself, and then I find that it's another individuation who's kind of blended in as talking. So it's an unusual experience, but yes, he feels very intergalactic.
Jeez, Ashtar, the Galactic Federation, no less. And this transmission was all about harmonics and frequencies, again, recurring theme throughout the week. And they are in the command center, fine tuning planetary harmonics by strengthening higher frequencies and revealing lower frequencies.
Yes.
Yeah. So interesting concept about the princess and the pea, which we'll come on to, but essentially was that, well, yeah, interesting concept around the princess and the pea, but essentially the collective were talking about shine. The more the light shines, it shines a light on those of a lower vibration, or that of a lower vibration, right? Energies, entities, and then more people become aware of that. Is that right?
Yeah, so the when the light first comes on, it will shine on that which is not light, and it will bring it to light. So suddenly things can seem darker in the first instance because it's been seen. Like we can see that with the various things that are coming out now, right? Globally, that maybe, let's say, conspiracy theorists have been talking about for years, but nobody believed it. But the frequency of the planet is raising, and with that comes awareness and knowledge of things that have been hidden, and it comes out, and then people can see it. And that's what's happening at the moment. People are seeing things that have been there all this time. It's nothing new. And on an unconscious level, we would have been impacted and affected by all of these dark things that are going on behind the scenes. But we just now have a name for it. Oh, that's why I feel so weird. Oh, really? The dissonance of the hidden darkness, where you think everything seems alright, but it's not, but you don't know why. That dissonance is really discombobulating. But when the light is shone upon what's really happening, then the dissonance disappears because at least it's true.
Yes, and they were talking about how it's connected to DNA as well, higher strands of DNA, which were to do with these higher frequencies, and it was bringing everybody up an octave. So the more people that became aware of the disharmony or the lower vibration, it would increase the collective, and we'll get to that mass. What's the expression?
Mass.
Critical mass, yeah. And then everyone can raise up into a more harmonious state. And it was about how they fine tune that, and how they do that from the place of
Yeah, that's right. They were identifying certain strands of DNA they were trying to find the right ones that are sitting within the genome, were sitting within the collective, sitting within everyone on the planet right now. And activating those specific strands would raise the frequency of the physical bodies, and people would therefore start spiraling into an awake state without having to do the top down, like thinking about it and awakening. But it would be like a bottom up processing where things like switch from underneath, and then suddenly there's an awakening that happens organically without even a searching. Just a knowing comes online, and first of all, it's a knowing that something doesn't feel right, or that there's actually these conspiracy theories are true. Suddenly the truth becomes much more resonant in its awareness. But I like the princess and the pea thing. That was really interesting to me, because you can have people lying on a million mattresses with a pea on it, not having any sense that there's anything dissonant underneath, and then you get sensitive people lying on there and they're like, whoa, what is that? And so as everyone becomes more sensitive, there's less tolerance for the peas under the mattress.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, I like their little analogies that they use. Yeah, that was cool. So that was an interesting one again. Yeah, about frequency and resonance, recurring theme that came through last week. So the following day was about 12-star activation around Mary. This was where you channeled Mother Mary. Can we say that? Is that
Yes. Yeah.
You're gonna have to give this one over to you, because this one's
it's been a really interesting process, because I started channeling the mothers maybe a couple of years ago, maybe 3 years ago, 2 years ago, and for a long time they were the mothers, and then one day I was sitting somewhere pretty special, and I saw the mothers come in, and they turned into 12 stars, and they started circling. And then when the 12 stars stopped circling, they opened up and they said, we are the gateway to Mary. And then Mary came in. And I was like, wow, this is really interesting. So it felt with the 12-star meditation that they gave us that it's an activation for people to be able to connect in more directly with Mary. And it's time for that. It's time that people woke up to who she really was. It's time for her to be celebrated. It's time for the Divine Feminine and everything that she represents, the Divine Mother, to be online on the planet. It's time for that. It's exciting.
Yes, and it's time to break through the mechanisms of control and find our way back to her.
Yes.
And that was that those in darkness fear the most, or the lower vibrationals fear her the most. Is that right? Right.
Yeah, because the darkest of the dark fear her more than anything. They are repelled by her energy more than anything. So she's the most powerful tool against the dark, because
yeah, sorry.
No, go on.
No, go on.
Yeah, because they are activated and actively repelled by her frequency. So the more we can embody that frequency, the more, just by connecting in with her, thinking about a picture of her or an image of her, or holding some rosary beads, or whatever tradition you have that brings in the concept of Mary, Mother Mary, just brings her online in your system, and that will flush things out.
Yeah, and that's why she's been sort of hidden over the years, or marginalized. That was the word. Yeah, because she's so powerful, and our connection to her can be so profound.
Yeah, and I just think it's so interesting within the church. You have the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, right? So you have the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghosted. Where's the female principle in that? It's so fascinating to me. And so the female principle, although there are certain fractions who've already celebrated Mary, as you say, there's been other fractions that have tried to suppress her and connection to her. But it now is time for us to embrace that connection and to bring forth that female principle. And in all of us. So they talk about balance. So we all have to balance the male and female. So it's not just for women, it's for men too.
Well, that's come through quite a bit. The balancing the masculine and feminine principle, and maybe we'll come onto it in one of the other days. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it was about left hemisphere and right hemisphere of the brain, what can you give an example of? Because personally, I'm as well. For me, really, um, about some what that. Could you elaborate on that? Like balancing the masculine and feminine principle within you, like yeah, go on a day-to-day example.
Day-to-day example is like it's about being able to physiologically, it's about balancing the left and the right. And they gave a really nice example in one of the meditations, which was it's like two a magnet like slotting, like clicking together, because there tends to be a dissonance between the right and the left hemisphere and the right and side, left side of the body. And when you can reach that harmony, it just fuses, and then there's unity, and that's what the kind of principle is to work towards, is to bring online. The masculine is so celebrated in our culture for generations, and the female has been so dismissed. It's not okay to be, women in the workplace wearing suits. There's been this women emulate men. It's this refusal to accept the female warmth, kindness, that all those qualities that are feminine aren't. There's no place for that in the office, right? And there is. And everything has to change in politics, in how the countries are run, in how we function as societies. The female caregiving principle should be at the forefront of everything, and it isn't. It's the dollar. So it's about a real change on every single level, which there's a big resistance to, because the masculine has had its heyday, right? It's coming out the other side of its heyday, but it's it's enjoyed a long old time of it.
And a distorted masculine as well, no less. Not a divine masculine, not masculine qualities as they we were given or meant to be, but a distorted representation of masculine.
The masculine in the extreme. So it's like it's not the protector. It's all it's the shadow of the masculine that is ruling the world, and that needs to change.
Cool. Was there anything else in that one?
No, I think
the big one.
Yeah.
Mother Mary. Yeah. Nothing. Anything else?
No, I think that covers it. Just for the general points.
I think this was the last one. Was it? Oh no, Purity Teachings of Divine Mother. Is that the next one? This was a different one. Again, this was a transmission that presented itself as a teaching from Divine Presence, who speaks as a mother archetype, described herself as a vessel for divine birth. Do you remember this one?
Yeah, I think it's talking about how it's about the purity of the body and eating cucumbers that haven't travelled too far, and carrots that haven't travelled too far.
Right, yeah. We've got a bone to pick about this one.
So it was talking about the fuel. So we talked last week, we had a dive into water, so to speak, last week, and how that can be very impactful on the physical body, and the words we use can impact the water, like with Dr. Emoto's work with the water crystals. So we know that thoughts can affect the water, but also the vibrational resonance of the food we eat obviously is absorbed into the body. So it's not only where the food has come from, what chemicals it has in it, but it's also who's carried it, who's handled it, who's prepared it. Are they having a good day or a bad day? All of these things can actually, all that energy can be in the food.
Right, yeah.
And we can absorb it.
Yeah. And I mean, I'd read before that, if and I'd stayed in ashrams or whatever in India, and it's vegan, and because they believe the frequency of the animal you ingest that frequency, and if it's suffered, then you ingest that as well. So it keeps your vibration and your frequency low. And I do eat meat, So, but I still do believe what they said, but we live in a society where I think you need a balanced sort of diet, don't you? And protein's important as well. And I'm sure there'll be people out there that are much more into this than I am. So I take this thing seriously. Like, we went to Glastonbury last week to get some crystals, right, to charge the water. I've got a new water filter, right? I mean, everybody knows the water's full of crap and toxins and chemicals anyway, heavy metals. That's just common scientific knowledge, but you still, still drink it. Anyway, so got a water filter, getting a jug, crystals. Right, so I've gone out Sainsbury. I've googled like local produce, Tunbridge Wells. Right, I'm going to be buying all organic fruit and veg. It took me an hour to try and find this one shop. I couldn't find it. I gave up. Drove up and down this road. I don't know if it even exists. Right down to Sainsbury's. I was getting so frustrated because trying to find something grown in the UK, let alone locally in your local Sainsbury's, I'd probably be living on a diet of cheese and onions. So I, I, and then you can't eat chicken, because it's just battery farmed, full of steroids and growth hormone. Any animal, fish is not, what is it, 70-80% of fish stocks overfished. I was walking around like, what can you actually eat? And it was getting like, I was getting a bit frustrated, right? But you really have to take time, and it's not going to be easy for everybody, is it? If they want to transition from this lifestyle, or how do you see it?
Well, I think it's by design.
Yeah.
It's by design that it's so difficult because those that know how important it is. And I think all we can do, they can give us this information and then we can do the best that we can with the resources we have available to us. We can make conscious choices. Maybe there are moments where it's an obvious choice, it's an easy choice to say, oh, actually, I won't have that, I'll have this. And maybe there are other times where we don't have that luxury of choice. But having the knowledge and having the awareness is the beginning of allowing it to become something that we can integrate into our lives.
And people have busy lives, don't they? They've got children. They have to both. If you're with a couple, likely, you both have to work. It's difficult to cook, difficult to prepare meals, difficult to source locally grown foods, grow your own foods, even harder. But the positive message is that we are moving in that direction. That is possible. That is the idea. That is our birthright that we have, and that keeps our frequencies pure and clean.
Yeah, and when we can make the right decision. So maybe we'll eat something, we'll reach for something that's not so processed, and we'll make a gradual change and a gradual shift in the right direction. And then as things develop on the planet, the availability of this produce that we need to fuel us. I mean, food doesn't have any ki or any energy in it when it travels so far. It doesn't have the resonant quality, because I remember somebody saying that you get more nutritional value chewing 1 grain of rice than in a sandwich from the supermarket if you chew it intentionally. So that's how little energy there is actually in the resonant quality of the food. It's lost so much of its original life force energy. So we just want to set that intention that we bring back life force energy into our food. And one thing we can do is just put our hands over the food before we eat it and bless it and say, allow this food to deeply nourish me.
Yeah.
And that can help.
Yeah, I can't remember that. They said that, if it's travelled really far, then it's just like, it doesn't hold much goodness or whatever anyway. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, that'd be nice, wouldn't it, when we're all at that place when we can just spend time growing and producing our own food for the table, for the family table.
In the Anastasia books, it's really interesting. They talk about how you can put the seed of, say, a cucumber in your mouth and then grow it, and then the cucumber will grow to what your body personally needs. So you can have your own veg literally growing for you. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah. Yeah, that was good. That was good. That was a nice one. Yeah, tried putting it into practice. Um, so, but I am going to start growing some vegetables. So watch this space. The final one of the week is a good one. Amun Ra.
Oh yeah.
Jeez, come on. This was around about the moon as well, right? The moon is a harmonic relay,
Yes.
and the trees working in harmony together, transmitting frequencies for Earth's energy grid.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this was an interesting one.
That was really interesting because it was the idea that the moon acts as a satellite and it projects this DNA codes and keys into onto the planet, but it's the trees that capture it. They're very clear, it's not the water that captures it, it's the trees that capture it, and then they somehow convert it into usable data and they put it out through the roots, and of course the whole planet is connected by Earth, connected by and within the roots of the trees. There's this whole kind of network of connection, and how important the trees are for that. It's so interesting how they can communicate all around the world. The trees
Mm.
can.
Yeah, I read that in maybe it was a Dolores Cannon book or a Guy Needler book where the ancients could communicate vast distances through trees, uh,
Oh
because
wow.
they're all connected. Yeah, yeah, incredible. Yeah. So, anything else in this one? Was that?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
yeah. What was interesting to me, what I took away from it was how the layers and layers and layers of history, real history, not actual, not learnt history, but actual things that happened long, long, long time ago, are held in Egypt. And when the whole world was watching, and all these treasures were pulled out of the tombs in Egypt in the 1920s, was it?
oh yeah,
Or 40s, whatever it was, when all those treasures came up, the whole world was watching, and it woke people
yeah.
up to there's more to our history than we know, and the whole world was fascinated, and just that mere kind of uncovery of this as a collective, it shifted something. Just the people watching and being interested woke something up in people. So I found that was particularly interesting. That just the
Mm.
action of finding these treasures was in and of itself an awakening for people on some deep level that they weren't even conscious of, but were fascinated by it at the same time.
Mm. So, who was Amun Ra then?
He was a deity, an Egyptian deity.
Yeah, one of the most recorded or revered Egyptian deities, right?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Shall I read something out about him?
Yeah.
Yeah. Amun Ra, a significant deity in ancient Egypt mythology embodying the fusion of two distinct gods. Amun, originally a wind and lunar deity worshipped in Thebes, and Ra, the sun god, revered in Heliopolis.
Yeah, so moon and sun,
Mm.
male and
Which
female.
is man and female. Yeah, right. Yeah, and that was yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah.
I can't remember too much more about that one.
No, I just thought it was really interesting that the mere fact that, and there's more to come. So, yes, there's been a layer of Egypt being discovered.
He talked about the Egyptians again,
Oh, yeah,
and
the
the
Egyptians.
Egyptians and the DNA that leads back to these ancient ancestors. Yeah, and that those that carry that greater percentage of DNA, um, like uh, or light codes or genetics, would find it easier to tune in to these ancient deities, Egyptians. Is that
Mm.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, so there'd be people who have like a high proportion because their ancestors, were of a certain area that kept the proportion high, and there'd be people who would be descended from other people whose their it's more diluted. So the people with a higher percentage of this in their blood would find it easier to tune in. Makes
Yes,
sense.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, and so back then he was talking about how the population or the civilization was all, in a cohesion and of a high frequency, and then the priesthood, um, they uh, took it over, didn't they? Was it like the priesthood after Anektun? I might be making that up, but I think I read that somewhere.
Akhenaten, yeah.
Akhenaten, yeah. They sort of managed to get control somehow and manipulate it, and um, that's a lot of this sort of control started, or it was a big part of
Yes,
that.
yes, because there's an impetus to have a direct connection to source, and
Uh,
people had their own direct connections, but then something happened, and that's right, their physical bodies started to get denser. They became of a denser frequency. So the idea was that the likes of Amun Ra would keep people's frequency higher. So they would connect in with him just to keep their frequency higher, so they could have a direct line to source. But when people and civilizations evolved and the lower vibrational energies kind of took hold, it was harder for them to have that direct connection. And that's when the priests came in and they kind of satiated the need for them to have a higher order, but they kind of stuck themselves between the people and source. And that's continued ever since.
yes, and again, that theme of harmonics came through because his individuation of consciousness is tasked with harmonics and keeping that balance via
Yeah.
fine tuning. Yeah, yeah,
Yes. Yeah. So he would hold that note for the collective. So people tuning into him he would be a stepping stone, but not in the way the priests were. He was actively accentuating, whereas the priests would come in and cap people's connection, and therefore people would think they had to go through the priest to get to source or God or however you want to call it.
yeah.
But the likes of Amun Ra being a deity or being a transdimensional point of contact, he was just getting everyone to reach up to him, and then he could pass the baton on so we could go higher.
Jeez. Going back through these, I'm like, whoa, I forget. I forget. So it's good to go back and read them and talk about them.
It is because it's five
It's
o'clock in
so
the morning
interesting.
when we come
Yeah.
when it comes through, and because I'm in an altered state, I remember snippets immediately afterwards, but then it fades. So it's really
Mm.
great to go back over it because I'm like, oh yeah, yeah, I've forgotten about the trees and how they talk to each other, and I've forgotten about this. Really fun to go back to it.
Mm. And 5:30 a.m.
Yes.
We do one on a Wednesday, 5:30 for everyone. But we may be stepping those up a bit in the future and doing them a bit more regularly, so everyone can join and see what comes through. And that 5:30 is like perfect time for those in the US. Just putting it on, going to bed. Just
Exactly.
saying. Those on their lunch break in India. Just saying.
Yeah, I think when I was a bit surprised, we talked about this before about that time in the morning, but it kind of makes sense globally, funnily.
But it's also quieter, isn't it? You can tune in a bit better.
Yeah, it's quieter because you haven't got people thinking around.
Yeah.
Most people are asleep around, so it's really helpful. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, nice.
Great. Well, that was a nice recap. Thank you.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, that was a long one, wasn't it?
Yeah.